By the time they pulled your file, you had trained 47 operatives across 3 countries. 12 of them were working for the other side. Here's how it started. You've been with the agency for 11 years. Not a field legend, not a liability. Exactly the kind of person who becomes invisible inside a large institution. Your role is technical. You run training cycles for Allied foreign intelligence personnel at a facility outside Bethesda, Maryland. The program brings in vetted operatives from partner nations. You teach them surveillance detection, dead drop protocol, cover identity construction, standard stuff. You've done it 200 times. The money issue starts in year 9. Not a crisis, just a slow drift. Your clearance level means you can't talk about work. Your wife doesn't know what you do. The marriage ends anyway. $340,000 in legal fees and settlement costs over 14 months. Your salary is $118,000. The math doesn't work. A contact finds you, not the other way around. He's Iranian-American, runs an import business out of Tysons Corner, Virginia. You've met him twice at a defense contractor networking event. Nothing flagged, he's clean on paper. He reaches out through a mutual acquaintance, says he has clients overseas who pay well for consulting work. Private sector? Sounds boring. You agree to a lunch. The first conversation is careful. He never says anything direct. He asks about your work in general terms. You don't give him anything classified, but you stay at that table for 2 hours. That matters. Because someone is watching that lunch. Not the agency. Not yet. A private firm contracted by a foreign intelligence service. They photograph the meeting, they run your face. They know who you are within 48 hours. 3 weeks later, he calls again. This time, the ask is specific. One of his clients is sending a team to the US for a training program. Legitimate on the surface private security contractors. He wants you to consult. Off the books. $40,000 for 6 days of work. You ask who the client is. He gives you a name that means nothing. You take the money. The 6 days happen at a private facility in rural West Virginia. 8 men. Young, fit, disciplined. You run them through the same curriculum you use at work. Surveillance detection routes. How to identify a follow. How to build a cover story that holds under questioning. How to pass material without being seen. You are very good at your job. That's the problem. The $40,000 lands in an LLC your contact helped you set up 3 weeks before. Consulting income, taxable, clean looking, the agency doesn't know, nobody does. Most people get caught because they tell someone. 6 months pass. The LLC gets 2 more deposits, $35,000 and $52,000. You've now run 3 separate training cycles for the same client network. The men rotate. Different faces each time. Same discipline, same learning curve. You start to understand what you're actually doing. Not fully, but enough. You keep going anyway. Your performance review at the agency is filed in March of that year. Exceeds expectations across 4 categories. Your supervisor notes your consistency and reliability. You are recommended for a program expansion role. More trainees, higher access. He got a commendation the same month he ran his second off-books cycle. The pattern now has a shape. Every 8 to 10 weeks, a new group. Always 6 to 9 people. Always the same curriculum you've refined over 11 years. You start customizing it slightly for each group. Better counter-surveillance techniques, more realistic cover identity construction. You are, without meaning to frame it this way, optimizing the enemy's field tradecraft. Inside the agency, a low-level analyst in the counterintelligence division notices something unrelated to you. A series of field operations in Eastern Europe are being compromised. Assets burned. Safe houses flagged. The pattern is consistent with someone who understands U.S. surveillance methodology from the inside. The analyst writes a 4-page memo. It gets read by one person and filed. No action taken. But the memo exists. Humans are terrible at randomness. Patterns always form. At this point, you have earned $287,000 outside your agency salary over 19 months. The LLC has passed 2 routine IRS checks, nothing flags. You've moved $180,000 into a second account registered to a relative in Oregon who doesn't know their name is on it. The remaining $107,000 sits in the LLC operating account. You are paying yourself a modest salary from it. Consulting work. Totally normal. The small mistake happens in month 22. One of your trainees, a man you ran through the West Virginia program in Cycle 4, gets picked up by FBI field agents in Detroit on an unrelated surveillance operation. He's not arrested, just observed, but his face goes into a database. 2 weeks later, a facial recognition cross-check ties him to a known foreign intelligence network. His file is opened. Inside that file, eventually, is a reference to his training, the type of training, the methods. An FBI analyst flags it because the methodology described matches U.S. intelligence curriculum almost exactly. That flag gets sent to a joint task force. It sits there for 6 weeks, but it exists now. That's when things shift. The task force has 7 people, 2 FBI counterintelligence agents, 1 NSA signals analyst, 2 CIA internal security officers, and 2 contractors. They are not looking for you yet. They are looking for a source of curriculum leakage. They run the methodology backward. The training your operatives received is too precise to be reconstructed from open sources. Someone with direct access taught it. That narrows the field significantly. They build a list of 34 people inside the U.S. intelligence community who have both the access and the training background to have produced this curriculum. You are number 19 on that list. Not a suspect yet. Just a name. But the list exists, and it is being worked. Your contact in Tyson's Corner pulls back. No direct reason given. He stops scheduling cycles. The money stops. You notice the change, but don't panic. You assume it's a business cycle. You are wrong. He has been warned by his own handlers that something is moving on the U.S. side. You are now 8 weeks away from being identified, and you don't know it. The digital exhaust is invisible until it isn't. The NSA analyst on the task force pulls phone metadata for all 34 names on the list. Not content, just contacts, frequency, location data. Yours shows 23 calls over 18 months to a number registered to your contact's import business. That's not unusual by itself. But cross-referenced with your financial activity, which they pull through a parallel legal process, the LLC appears. A CIA officer who has worked financial counterintelligence for 9 years looks at the LLC structure and the deposit timeline and writes one sentence in her notes. This is payment structure, not consulting income. Your name moves from position 19 to position 2 on the working list in the same week. Physical surveillance begins on a Tuesday. 2 vehicles, a 3-person rotating foot team. They are not there to arrest you. They are there to build the full picture. They follow you for 31 days. They photograph 14 meetings. Most are nothing. Grocery store, gym, a former colleague from the agency you meet for lunch, all of it gets logged. On day 19 of surveillance, you drive to a storage facility in Fairfax County. You are inside for 22 minutes. You leave with a bag. They don't stop you. They photograph the facility number. They get a warrant 4 days later. Inside the unit, $63,000 in cash, 3 prepaid phones, and a handwritten list of 9 names. The names are cross-referenced within 72 hours. 7 of them are foreign nationals with known or suspected intelligence affiliations. That's the case. Everything else is paperwork. Nobody starts thinking they'll end up here. You are arrested on a Wednesday morning. 6:40 a.m. 2 vehicles pull up outside your apartment in Alexandria, Virginia. 4 agents. No drama. They knock. You answer. They identify themselves and present the warrant. You don't run. You don't say anything useful. You've been in this world long enough to know that part is over. The charges are filed 11 days later. 4 counts under the Espionage Act, 2 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to provide material support to a foreign intelligence service. The evidence summary runs to 340 pages. Phone records, financial records, surveillance photographs, the storage unit contents, testimony from a foreign national who agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced exposure. The trial takes 9 weeks. Your attorney argues you were misled about the nature of the client, that you believed it was legitimate private security consulting. The jury deliberates for 3 days. They don't believe it either. Sentencing is 4 months after the verdict. The judge cites the scope of the breach: 47 trained operatives, 3 countries, 23 months of active cooperation. The sentence is 27 years. Federal. No parole structure under the relevant statute. You will be eligible for a review at year 20. You are processed into a federal correctional institution in Cumberland, Maryland. The intake unit is standard. Single occupancy cell, 8 by 10 feet, lights out at 10 p.m. You are 51 years old. Isolation is its own kind of prison. At your peak, you controlled access to some of the most sensitive operational training in the U.S. intelligence system and were earning $287,000 a year between 2 income streams. At the end, you have $200 in a commissary account and a review date 20 years out. The training program you ran at the agency was restructured within 6 months of your arrest. New protocols, new oversight, 3 additional sign-off requirements on every foreign trainee admitted. Your position was filled in 8 weeks. The new instructor has no idea who sat in that chair before him.